Hello, I hope we are live. Hi, Ayushi. Hi, Bhushan. Thanks for joining. Oh, I see 3 to 4 viewers are already online. Thanks for joining. Okay, let's start without wasting any time. Let me introduce our first speaker. That is Jyoti Pawar. She is an solution architect from Planet Smart City. She has total 19 years of experience and around PHP, complete PHP, that is PHP, Laravel, Symfony, and she does internal corporate trainings as well. So today we are fortunate enough to get training from her on testing on PHP unit. So I am calling Jyoti. Hi Jyoti, you are live.
Hi, Jigar. Hello, all the community members. Thanks for inviting me here. It's my pleasure. Uh, okay, so without wasting time, we will start with the PHP unit. So PHP unit we are using for the unit testing. Uh, and now I will share my screen. Okay, so I will share my slides.
Yep, your slide is visible.
Okay. So how to install the PHP unit? Of course, we can use the Composer package manager, or even we can download the PHP unit. But it's nowadays it's easy by using the Composer. So how to do? So I have created the background, but for your for your information, I will share how to do that. So I created this PHP unit demo, and in that I created this source and test directories. These are empty directories, don't have. So we will do the composer in it, and I'm just entering the information. Yes. So I am using the PHP unit, and it's now 0. So it will install latest version, and I don't want to. So mainly, I did mistake actually. See, I installed in the require, but I must install in the required dev. So it's asking for required dev. Using this, yes, and again I'm using PHP unit. So it's asking me for which package I'm using latest version, and then so it's asking me the namespace path. I'm doing e- entering it, and now this whole composer JSON is created, and I'm entering as install dependencies as, and that's how we can install the PHP unit in our project. So I will show you in a how it is looking. So this way we are actually creating this composer JSON. So mainly this auto.ps are for the actually namespace I am using, and it's pointed to source directory. Uh, for test we not actually yet uh, added here. We should not do this require PHP unit because we are not actually it should be in a dev environment. So we are deleting this, and then for the dev environment we are actually using the PHP unit PHP. Same for the uh, tests, we can do the autoload dev, and here we can give the path of the test directory, and here we can give the path of this is our namespace will be. So this is actually basic how we need to load the PHP unit in the dev environment only. It should not be in the production environment. So that's how we need to include the classes in the autoload dev. All other things, whatever our source directory, whatever we'll code have in the autoload, uh, package of the PHP unit should be in the require and hyphen dev. Okay, so that's how your composer JSON will be look like. So right now I'm so how to okay. So first step we covered composer require. Laravel is not the part of this session, so we'll exclude that. How to do the execution is like vendor bin PHP unit. I will show you the demo. Just give the what we need to extend, which class we need to extend in the test case. So we need to extend PHP unit framework test case. This class we need to extend when we are writing the test case. So how will be our simple test case? So suppose I'm writing my test, and we need to extend test case. It will be the PHP unit framework test case class, and this will be my simple test case. Test my class works. Okay, and this is only assert. What is this assert? All PHP unit testing is dependent on mainly assert functions. So if you will go and Google the PHP unit assert assertions, you will actually get the first link. Go there and you will see all the assertions here. You can see there are various numbers of assertions. You can see here you can use any. So I use simple assert true. If internal value, if we are passing true, it will be successful. If we are passing false, whatever result, which actually giving result as a false or true, then according to result, if it is a true, then it will successful. If it is false, then it will fail the this test case. So of course this above test case will be failed because we are passing the false, and that's how we need to use the assert functions. Okay, so you will get all the assert functions in the on this link. Okay, how to execute test? I am actually telling how to so you need to go into vendor bin PHP unit. I will show you how it is. So this is a vendor directory, and in the vendor directory in bin there is a PHP unit file which will execute our test cases. Okay, so we need to go into vendor directory. So I am actually using vendor bin and PHP unit. So it will actually right now there is a no any test case. So there is a lot many help available. You can just go through it. There are many things here. We cannot cover all these things, and it's not the motive of this session. But yeah, you can check all these fields and try to use all these so that you will get the mastery on the PHP unit. Okay, so you can execute this way. Some of the people might be working on Windows, they can use the PHP also in front of PHP unit. You can go into that directory also, like you can change the directory vendor and then bin, and then directly execute PHP unit from there. You can use PHP unit also, whoever working on Windows right now. for Linux and Mac people, it's easy just using the PHP unit. It is executable file, so we can use that and run the test cases. Okay, so right now I'm not running any test case, so it's giving me the help for the PHP unit. Okay. Next is the code coverage we are not covering right now. So mainly, why we actually need to write the test cases is the important thing. So we need to follow the TDD. So for TDD, we need to imagine the what will be the our output, and according to output, we need to write the test case first. And for making that test case successful, we will write the test case. Sorry, we will write the code. That's how we need to write our complete code so that it will be a bugless. Uh, Mainly, and for testing all the code, we are using PHP unit assertions. Okay, so how to do the unit testing? Mainly, we need to do the test in isolation. We can use fake data. Okay, I will show you the example how we can do that. And for integration testing, we use actual data, and for functional testing, we are using browser. Okay, so even you with the PHP unit, we can test on the browser also, is how browser is executing, etc. That part also we can do with the PHP unit, that we will cover in the Laravel. But right now we will do the simple how to do how to use of the assertions, etc. So do we need to test all the things? No, it's not necessary. But uh, if we are actually finding the code coverage, etc., then it will show the how much, for how much code we have written the test cases. uh, so uh, you might know the CI/CD pipelines, etc., and in that case, how you will assure as we integrate, as we deploying, all our code is successful. So that time we need to run all the test cases. If all the test cases are successful, then only we can deploy on the production server or whatever staging server, unit, QA server, etc. So that's how we need to use these test cases, and it's a very important part of the CI/CD pipeline. If our test cases are not successful, we cannot deploy on the production. So for that's way, these test cases are very important, and we need to write the test cases for uh, error, means for actually bugless code. Okay, so how this is one simple example. I'm not actually writing any test case, sorry, writing any code for taxonomy parser yet, but I am writing first test case. So my imagination is I am going to write the taxonomy parser. Okay, and for taxonomy parser, I am writing the taxonomy class. So of course, my test I need to create the object of taxonomy parser class. So I created this taxonomy parser class object, and then I'm actually using the pass function, and I'm passing the taxonomy string, and which returns me the array. Okay, so that's, and I'm using the assert same. So for this information, you go to PHP unit assertions page, and you check the what function, what assert functions you need to use. So what we will do, actually we will take the we will create the demo. Okay, okay. So in this, see, I'm creating the first test case. Okay, so I'm writing the test case. So how I am writing the test case, like mm, test taxonomy parser. Okay, and I'm using this. Okay, so PHP Storm automatically taking this namespace. So yeah, if I need to extend the class, I need to extend the test case class. So it automatically giving me the PHP. Okay, so this is my taxonomy parser test case class is created. Okay, now what I need to do, I told you in this code, like we need to create the first test case. So I'm assuming uh, I will copy from this. So otherwise I have a different demo. So in my demo I will use that class. I will create that function. So right now, so our namespace is this one. Right now there is no any class on this namespace. Actually I not created that taxonomy parser class here, but I'm just trying to use this and I'm testing it now. Better way I will go to, so that you can see this full screen. So I'm executing it like a vendor, then PHP unit, and I'm using the test directories. Okay. So what it is showing me, it's showing me there was one error. What it is actually, this class is not found. Okay. So this class is not found. So I will create now the class, and it's now giving me the namespace because I'm creating in the source directory, and this is the simple class I created. Okay. So again I'm okay, you can give the parameter color so that it will be colorful. Yeah, so it's showing me again it's a failure test errors, one assertion, zero error, one assertion. Means actually we we used in this test case one assertion, this assert same. So it's showing me it's failure assertions, test one assertion, zero error, one, because it is not actually getting that class. One minute. So let me check the namespace app, and I am using the, so okay, now we'll check once again. So what it is showing me, not found. Now it's actually giving me the error of parse function. So previously it was giving me the error for the class not found, but now it's giving me the method not exist. So we will create the parse method. So in this class I need to create the parse function. Okay, and in that I will just I'm actually using the string, and right now I will just return the as array, and I'm passing it just taxonomy. Okay, so we need to parse it, but right now I'm doing this. Okay, so let's check is the our taxonomy parser class will, because now I am using parse, I'm passing work, and I'm expecting the array. Okay, and it should be like this. That's what I'm using the peg data and directly giving the hard coded data. So that's how I need to use. And let me check whatever I'm sending is my test case is successful or not. So what I have actually previously created, I created test case first. I written the all the code for, it means imagine the code, write the test case, and then again I refactored my taxonomy class. So that's how you need to write the TDD. And okay, so now it's working for the hard code. But if I will parse, if I will create one more test case and will send the, you can give any other I will actually use this work and personal. Now I will not waste in this time in this, I will use directly code from, otherwise we will short in time. So I will use these directly functions and I will show you. Now see, I am using the second function. Okay, now I'm using the second function, and expecting, like I'm passing work, personal, and family, and it's a comma separated. I'm expecting array like this, and will my parse, this parse function give the same results or not? That I'm checking with the test cases. So I'm actually again executing, and now it's giving me the failure because of course we passed the first case is passed, because previous work is working because we simply return the same string as an array. But second will not work. Okay, it expecting the array, and expecting the array, and it is returning me the same string. So it is failure, and it's giving me failure to test, two assertion, and one is the failure. Work is working, first first code is working. See, first test case is working proper, but this is not working. So now I need to modify my parse function, and I need to change the parse function somehow, so that I can accommodate the simple word and even the comma separated taxonomy string, and I can get the proper array of the taxonomy. So I will write the another function for parse, and see how it is. So I'm writing the another to exclude the. comma. Okay, so I am actually using the simple function explode, and now I will see is it working, and see how it is working now. Yeah, yes, so now two test and two assertions are working properly. Suppose now if I am giving third case. Okay, suppose I am giving the third case. Now it is actually previously it don't have any space, but right now I am actually taking the string with the space and comma, and I'm expecting it should work. My parse function should work for this test case, and again I'm testing. It will fail, of course, because it is returning. See, now it is returning. Expected was work, personal, and family, but it is returning space personal and space family. Okay, so it is not working. So how then we need to again change our function so that uh, it should work with the proper space and even the comma. So how we need to change my uh, function? So we need to write something related to remove the space. So I'm writing one more function. So I'm changing my parser class again, and I'm writing the one more function which will parse my space and even the comma. So now it should work for comma, single word, comma and space, string, etc. So let me run again the test case. What happened? So it is giving me work, personal, family, work, personal, family. Somehow my test case is not working with this pattern. I actually use the break split, comma and space and taxonomy string, and for what it is failing. So it will show us which is the actually passing. So first one passed, second one failed. Okay, because there is a no space. Okay, and third one is also passing. So means our out of three test cases, first is passing, second is failure, and third is passing. Why it's failure second case? Because we don't have a space in this string. So my again my parse function is not working. I need to do something here so that my parse function will work properly. So I will do one more change in my parse function, and then it will work. Might be for hopefully. So I'm writing one more function. So now it is actually checking if it is available, comma is needed, not needed, but if the space is uh, means we are actually saying ki like there will be a one space, there might not be. So that's how we actually use the break split, and we are actually again running the, and now all our three test cases and three assertions are successful. So I'm not going into deep how we can modify all these test cases, but we can actually, I have another version. Let me show you how we need to. So see, for now I am checking, can I add a semicolon and space, etc., etc. So for taking the comma and semicolon, I need to adjust my test case. So and all these, suppose I'm writing even the space, comma or semicolon, all end space. So or for the all these test cases, I need to modify my parser function. So using all these, means I have written many multiple versions of a parse function, and finally this function I will not show you the demo, but because it's a very short time. uh, so I am giving you the final function, like it will iterate many more functions, and we will finally reach out the our targeted function with this. Okay, so I'm actually checking it is it available for front space, space, backspace, and then it might include comma and semicolon. So this will be my final version, and I am taking all these test cases in between. So I'm taking all these test cases, and now I'm checking because I used my final function here. It will work, but you can write as various pass functions with the right code to pass your test cases. So you need to refactor your pass functions according to your need. So what you are doing here, you are writing the test case first and making the test case successful. You are changing your exact source code. So that's how, so all my five tests and six are successful now. And that's how you need to write the develop the code with the TDD, means test driven development. Okay, so now we will actually move on the next slide. So till here we actually these are some assertions functions you can test uh, for the various type. uh, I am actually giving this slide for imagination, how you will actually imagine. Suppose we are actually sending, we are using the platforms like social media like Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., etc., Gmail. So you need to log into this. So how you can actually imagine for a login, use app key, token, etc., etc., and then you need to write the test case for all these uh, platforms uniquely. So you need to imagine and then need to write the test case and then the actual class. Okay, so these are the very two important functions, setup and tear down. These are actually calling, setup is called before every test case while running the test case, and tear down is when we finish every test case, then actually tear down is called. I will give you the example. Setup before class, it's only once, and only tear down is only after the class, so it's executed just once, um, for each test case, and previous one is for every test case it is working. Okay, so I will show you the exam, how to use the setup class. Okay, so see, right now we are using here parser, taxonomy parser, parser, taxonomy parser, or all these functions we are using multiple times. So we can use the function. It's the frame. Sorry. So I'm using this setup function. Okay, and here I'm creating the object, sorry, variable for a parser. I'm creating this parser. Okay, I will use text ornament. And it's like a constructor itself, but mainly constructor is executed when object is created, but this this setup function is executing up before every test case run. Okay, so for this test case it will run setup, for this test case it will run setup. So you can use this function to initialize the variables. Okay, uh, and now we are using this dot. Okay, I will change this parser only. So instead of writing this duplicate initialization of the object, you can use setup function. You can even use multiple. See here, I use assert same, and you I use two test cases in a one single test case. So you can do multiple assertions, multiple different assertions. So any assertions in a single test case. Okay, so that's how you can use this setup function. That's how you can use this setup function, and now you check your code. So all these test cases are successful. So what we have done here, we use this setup function which is actually executing before each and every test case, and we initialize our parser in this class, sorry, in this function, and we are using this object globally, and then we are running the test case. So you can observe here I have written same test case. I am checking assert same, assert same, assert same here. Every time I am doing same. Okay, but and what is the different in my this all these test case is same, but my actual input and output is the different. Okay, so what can I do for this? It's repetitive. I can do all these test case in a one single test case. Okay, so how to achieve that? We can use the data provider. So using data provider, you uh, actually you will save your work with different input and output. So how to achieve that, I will show you. So here is the with setup. Already there is a different method. Okay, data provider, I will show you this. I will copy this class. Okay, I need to change the namespace. Okay, so here, see what I'm doing. All these test cases we are actually in previous class we are actually duplicating our input and output, right? sorry, we are duplicating our initialization and the pass functions use, and what we were checking assert same in every test case. Now you can use this data provider is the annotation, and using this data provider, what function you want to use for this data provider for this test case. Data provider is taxonomy provider, so this is a taxonomy provider function. And for this test case, this annotation is saying use taxonomy provider, so I am using taxonomy provider for input and output. So input of course is the first parameter, and second is the uh, output. Okay, so in this input, and it's not necessary always you can try out, you need to send the input and expected. You can even send the input only, expected you can write here. Even you can send expected only, input you can write only once. So whatever according to your need, you can write your data provider function. I am checking both the input and output values, so I have written this. uh, and here I have written various combinations of my input and output. First, array. So of course it will be the array, and in the array, according to your these parameters, you have to write internal values. Okay, so first is my input and second is my output. So first is my string and second is my array. So that's how I'm actually giving this values to these this function. And will check now our second class. So we need to change the function now. So it's okay. So see, using only one single test case, I tested various inputs and outputs. Why I am able to do that? Because in in previous class, in every test case, I was checking only same, assert same. So with the single data provider, you can club all these test cases in a one test case. So it's working for all type of data. That is the, you can save your work by using data provider. Okay, so I told you the use of how to use the setup and how to use the data provider. If your test cases are actually using same assertions but different type of data, that in this case you can use the data provider. So this annotation is important. Without annotation it will not work. So you need to give this data provider as an annotation in the comment and function name of the data provider. Okay, so now we'll again, so it's the only use I have mentioned here. How to use this. Okay, so sometimes you actually you are going on leave, and you are implementing that, and but we miss, so your team member needs to deploy. Okay, but how you will actually tell the team ki, like this work is not completed it, so this work is not completed it, how you need to mention this. Okay, so you can simply write this incomplete test, so that team member when they will run, actually they will understand it's incomplete work and we cannot proceed with the deployment. So we can use this function. We can use this function here. We will use this. Okay, so test create, actually still it's not completed. I want to actually give the information to my team how do you need to proceed or not. This way you can actually check the, so see it's showing okay, it's not giving any error, failure, etc. but incomplete, because what I have done here, I have written here mark test incomplete. I actually the still work is going on, and I, I want to implement it more further test cases, but it's incomplete. Okay, and that's how you need to write the use the mark test incomplete assertion for the incomplete test. So it will give you these different color, and it's showing you there are 11 tests, 10 assertions, and one is incomplete. Okay, so you can use this incomplete also for showing this is not completed. One more thing you can use, mark test skipped. Okay, so I have given previously example of, suppose we are implementing the platforms like Facebook, LinkedIn, etc., etc., and suppose there is a new platform come. Okay, and we don't know, means it's unknown platform till now, or it's unknown platform. So we can use even this test case mark test skipped. So we actually implemented test cases for only Facebook, LinkedIn, Gmail, but any new platform we don't know, we not implemented these test cases, so we can use even this test skipped uh, function mark test skip. So there is nobody to implement this platform, we are not implementing this platform, so the test case for this is not available. So this way we can even we can skip the test. Okay, so next is yeah, of course, more asset functions, asset response, okay, response contents. So if you want to take check the content of the HTML, etc., etc., so then you can use these type of functions. Assert response contains, so actual content of the your page, etc., you can check with these functions. Suppose you want to check the class assert instance, uh, is my class name is correct or not. So this assert instance of you can use. So even you can greater than length, etc., if you want to check the length, we will actually test this with the other class, but you can even check the expect exception. Okay, so this way you can use different type of assert functions to check your test cases, or to write your test cases. Okay, so this is how to handle the exceptions. So if short length exception I have given, I have created here one more. So this is our taxonomy class, and taxonomy has a name. Okay, and for the taxonomy name should be, means should have a length greater than 3, and if the length, this is the wrong one, if it is greater than 3, then only actually we are assigning, otherwise we are throwing the exception. Of course, we need to write the exception here. So I have written the exception here, and I created this taxonomy class. When actually I will construct the taxonomy class object, and if I'm passing the length of the name is less than 3 characters, then of course it should show the short length exception. Then we can write the test case like, I'm not going into deep now. We are short in time. One more important thing I need to show. So we can actually use this expect exception, short length exception. So whenever I am passing the length less than 3, I am expecting the short length exception, and this should be passed when I am passing this do, okay, or whatever name less than 2, less than 3 characters. So I'm expecting short length exception when I'm passing this short word. So that's how you can check assert contains, you can check. So this is an array you are passing, And in array, is it having four? You can use this for string, array, both. So you can check the assert contains like this. And one more important uh, I want to show you here. Let me check. Okay, now it's test doubles. So I haven't actually created the side slide for test doubles, but I will show you the example. So this is my order class. In order class, there is amount and the gateway. Okay. And whenever I am actually processing the order, means creating the order, I should pass the payment gateway. Okay. This is sample code. Understand the just try to understand what I am doing. When actually I am processing order, I am charging the amount. Okay. So even I have created amount variable for this order. So I am actually charging and I'm using set amount. So this is my order class. Okay, mainly payment gateway is the difficult class, and there is a lot many code here for actual implementation of the deduction and even charging the amount. So code for actual charging. But when we want to test our order class, only order class, okay, but not our gateway. Okay, so gateway is complicated, and I don't want to test my gateway. So how we will fool actually our order test class? Okay, key, like, you can means actually you don't want to use real gateway, but you want to fool this test case, like I am passing the gateway. Okay, so for this you can use these test doubles. You can use the create. 1 minute, I will show you this order test class. Okay, so I'm creating this create stub. So these are the two function, get mock builder and create stub. I will not go into details of these, but these test cases are actually creating the stuff for, you mean to say, the hide the internal factors of this class, and whatever it is expected to return, only I am returning that. And actually I'm using the stub class of payment gateway. So payment gateways, I don't want to check the payment gateway, but I want to test my order class, and that's how we need to use this create stub. Okay, so for gateway actually I'm creating the stub. And you might have seen this payment gateway has a charge method. For which method, means method of payment gateway actually I'm using in this order test class? So gateway method which using charge method, and it should return true. So that actually I'm writing here. I'm not, so gateway is passed. What is it, its real output? I'm using this only. So I'm expecting here it will always use the true in this test case. And then I am actually testing the test case. So okay, so now order, I am using this gateway stub here, setting the amount to 100, and I'm checking order, process order. So process order here, it will charge, and then I can actually check other things, is my amount deducted, etc., from my wallet and all these things. So that we can test with these stub classes. Okay, so we will try implementing this. Even if you, it's not like for the gateways, like even we can use this for databases test cases. We don't want to do the connection, etc., etc., but from the output of the query we want to check the something. Okay, so you can even expected array like this 3 and Vikram. Okay, and you can use this like this. See, I have given this two simple example. So I'm actually using this database connection as a stub class, and I'm passing the query method, and query is returning what expected array. So my query output will be this, and further on this query I'm doing something. Okay, so this way you can use these stub classes. We will actually try the example. 1 minute, I will copy this class order. So this is my order class I copied from there, and I am even copying the payment gateway class. So internal code, see, I haven't written because I don't know what is the code for the payment gateway. But it's simple. But after charging, it is returning true. That's the code of this charge function, and I have not implemented internal code here. Just the it's for simply uh, demo purpose. So how to test this order class? It's using gateway object in it, but real gateway we don't want to test. So what we are actually using in this, we will create the, I will copy this order test class. Okay, so I need to change the namespace. So what I'm checking here, I'm checking assert true. So process order, see in this order class, process order is returning after processing order, it should return true. Okay, so if it is returning true, then my order will be successful. Okay, so I am using gateway charge method here, and what I am checking in this order uh, means what is I'm checking after processing order, it should return the true. Okay, but exactly is it returning true? No, we are just using the payment gateways stub class, and we are actually passing what we want result from the payment gateway. Okay, so whatever method we want to use, we want to use charge method. What should it return? True. So that we stubbed. Okay, that we actually picked. Okay, and by using this output, I am processing my order, and in processing order, it will use this gateway charge method, and checking the result with the true. Okay, so we'll test this test case. So see, it's showing me one test and one assertion, and it's true. Okay, so you understand this? Whatever output we are actually expecting from the payment gateway. So what we are expecting, the charge method should return me the true. It's my final output. I don't want to test exactly what the payment gateway created my means actual. I don't want to use actual payment gateway. I don't want to use my card, anything. Okay. So what I'm expecting, gateway should return me the true if my order is successful. So that's I am actually mocking here. If you can see my screen, so I will remove all this so that you will just understand what I am doing. So here, okay, so important is this part. I am creating this payment gateway stub class, created stub, and what I'm using charge method. What it should return, true. If it is false, then we can check the other method, like it should show the message, contact administrator, balance is low, etc., etc. All this you can check with these simple. What should it return? If I need to failure of order, then of course it should return false. And after processing order, whatever message we want to give, that class we not implemented it. But if it is returning false, then our order is not successful. So whatever message it should throw, is it throwing proper message, that we can check in this class. That if further implementation we haven't done it, but that's how we can use this create stuff. And if you we can use even mockup also. See, we'll go to edit source. So this create stuff here actually used even create mockup object. Okay, so I will actually tell you get mockup builder. See, uh, this is the function get mockup builder, and here it's using new mockup builder, and in create stuff it's using create mock object. Here also using get mock builder. So in both the functions used get mock builder, but there is a some little difference that we can focus on a later. But mainly you can use these two functions create stub and get mockup builder for actually using the stub and take class mainly. So you can use this both these classes, sorry, both these methods to use these stubs. Okay, so I believe I cannot cover all the things, but I tried to cover necessary things. I believe we will practice. We will practice TDD, and that's how you need to actually get a mastery on the PHP unit. And as you will work, you will understand how to implement it.
Thanks, Jyoti.
Okay, I believe we will actually cover Laravel test cases in next session somehow, in further sessions. But yes,
Yes,
mm,
thanks.
hope I am able to explain the things.
Yes,
It's
it
not.
was. Yeah, it was very good. And you covered from scratch, like you started from scratch, which is very helpful for especially for new beginners. And there are few things that even I learned today. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Yeah, the mockup piece and the data provider, I'm pretty sure that not everyone is aware of it, especially the data provider thing, which is very useful. So yeah, thanks for sharing your knowledge, and definitely we'll speak again. Like we'll discuss when to schedule for Laravel testing. So yeah, thanks. Because we have limited time. I think also there are no questions in the chat, so I think we'll skip. And if there are any questions, do let me know your contact details, Jyoti, so I can drop the same in the chat so that people can connect you offline if they have any questions in future also who watches this video. Yeah, without
My,
wasting.
I'm sending my email ID.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you can send an email on my email. I shared with the Jigar, and it'll be if you have a queries, you can contact me on this email.
yeah,
I will try to help you.
yeah,
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all.
yeah. Thank you. I'm dropping her email address. Yeah, yeah. So if you have any questions, you can contact Jyoti on her email address. So without wasting time, I will call our next speaker, who is Pushpak. He has total 3 years of experience in Laravel, and he is currently working as a software engineer at Clearglass. He works with Vue, Laravel Node, and TypeScript. So yeah, hi Pushpak.
Hey, hi, Jigar, hi, Jyoti. It was really great talk, and I also learned a lot of new things about PHP unit today. Yeah, so I will kick off my talk. Let
Yeah,
me just share my
over to
screen.
you. Yeah,
I hope my screen is visible. I will start with it. So today I will be speaking about how to set up your dev environment using Laravel Sail. My name is Pushpak, and I'm currently working as a software engineer at Clearglass Analytics Pvt Ltd. You can find me on Twitter with the username called Pushpak1300, or even on the LinkedIn you can, or even on the GitHub you can find me with the same username. So if you have a questions or you need to talk to me about the Laravel Sail, you can just ping me on this Twitter with the same username. So before learning any new technology, we should be able to answer these three main questions. Uh, what is this? Why we are learning it, and how we should learn it. So I will start answering these questions now one by one. So first question is what exactly the dev environment is. There is no like a specific way to define a dev environment. Whatever currently you are using in your local system or whatever currently you are using can be qualified as a dev environment as long as you are able to successfully develop the features and ship it to the production. That is a very high level definition of the dev environments. But if you want to define it, it's like a collection of processes and tools which you are used to develop the software or the product, right? So dev environment can contain of IDE plus your tooling. For example, if you are using any debuggers, then or any style fixers and all sort of things that can be come under as a dev environment, and how you manage the dependency as well. So dependencies can be sort of two things: dependency of your project. For example, there is a dependency on PHP specific version, PHP specific extension, and the dependency of your Laravel application as well. So the way you install Composer dependencies, that is also part as a part of a dependency. So combining all of these things comes under the very broad term called a dev environment. So to define it, whatever you are currently using can be qualified as a dev environment. If it's working for you, you don't need to change it. There is like no specific definition for it. Okay. The next question why we should use why we should set up a very good environment. So there are very good cons assigned with it. The first thing is there is a faster onboarding for your new developers and contractors. So I have noticed this in my previous. I have also noticed that there are so many days you waste of setting up the local environment for once you started onboarding to a new project, right? You can minimize this time by days to some minutes by setting up a good environment. Your developer should be able to set up environments very easily. It's their job to run the code and not the setup environment. So that is a con you get when you start using a good environment. So once you set up a good environment, you will be able to develop features faster and ship them to the production. So you will notice that there is an increased productivity around it. Then, in case of Laravel Sail, you get some kind of environment isolation. This is not a necessary point. Like if you are using a environment isolation, there are many things you can achieve. For example, security for your applications, uh, then resources for your application, how they behave with the specific constraints. All these sort of things you can test it on developer local machines only. And also your local environment will not be interfering with the application environment, so that way you will have the guarantee that your environment will work fine once you have the defined environment. So again, the next point is your dependency management gets very easier. So as I mentioned, once you started using good environment, for example, to manage the Laravel application, we use Composer. Managing the Composer dependency is very easy. For Node.js application, we use npm. So there should be a also way to manage the program level things. For example, PHP, the database versions. This also gets easier when you have a good environments. I have noticed sometimes that locally you are using a different database version, and when you ship to production, you are using a different version of that, which can cause sometimes a issue, right? So you also get a you also able to catch bugs in the development level only, and you also get a increased parity with your production environment. So you will be living as close as to the production environment. So when you ship the things, the breaking due to unnecessary uh, environments, the that gets very limited to that once you started using dev environments. So the next question is how we should set up dev environments. There are multiple ways of doing it. Uh, I already told you, right? It's whatever currently you are using it for your application development, that also qualifies as a dev environment. But creating a good dev environment is necessary. So there are multiple ways you can create a good dev environment. First one is any Laravel simple Laravel application with a good README file is an example of a good development environment. If there are all the necessary instructions mentioned in the README file, when you start reading, documenting them in the README file, and once you shared it, anyone can be able to easily replicate that. But complexity comes up when there are multiple projects dependent on your project. So there are, let's suppose if you are using microservice architecture and you have a three services. For example, one service is written in Laravel, another service written in Rust, and another service written in the Node.js. So if you are a PHP developer, you don't know how to manage and run and install the dependencies for the Rust and Node.js, right? At that point, it gets very tedious to manage this developer dependency. If even if you have a good README files, you need to download all sort of things, all sort software you locally, and then manage those dependency. So this gets tedious once you started using that. So there is another way which you can manage the development environment, which is Laravel Wallet. This is a tool created by the Laravel team itself, which runs on your Mac to uh, give you some kind of a tooling around Laravel and PHP application. So it's again a good way of saying it's a development environment. If it works, it's a good development environment. So it always Laravel Wallet configure the Nginx on your server and uh, in the background, and when machine start, it can directly serve your Laravel application without running anything. The next thing is Laravel Homestead. So Laravel Homestead is a wrapper, or the you can say a Laravel compatible virtual box created on top of a Vagrant. So Vagrant is again a Vagrants provide a simple and elegant way to manage your virtual machines. It's similar as a Laravel. So you can say it. You can either use Laravel Homestead or you can either use Laravel Sail. There are some drawbacks assigned with the Laravel Homestead as well as Laravel Sail. So you need to discuss this with the team, what you are working with, and then decide which tool to use. And in today's talk, we will be mostly talking about Laravel Sail. So coming to the Laravel Sail. So Laravel Sail is a lightweight interface for interacting with the Laravel's default Docker development. So what exactly it do is Laravel has created its own opinionated Docker file, which you can use, or we can customize it also if you want to. But it's like a very lightweight interface for interacting with that Docker file. And it also provides a great way to build your Laravel application without having a Docker experience. Even if you don't know how Docker works, you can still build the uh, even if you don't know the Docker works, you can still build your application without it, and you can use Laravel Sail. So that's totally fine, even if you don't know the Docker. But the people who are already aware with the Docker, I know this will be just a small refresher for you, and the people who are not aware of what exactly the Docker is, I will just give a small overview of the Docker, what exactly it's, how it works behind the scenes. So Docker works with mainly with the containers. So it Docker provides us the way to run the multiple containers in a very loosely environment way. So, for example, what is a container? So you can say it's a very loosely isolated environment with your OS, but it provides a boundary so that you can work with your application itself only. And this will work on top of your OS. So you don't need to have a kind of a virtualization of the resources and the file system and the networking, which, like, for example, if you guys have worked with VirtualBox provides the virtualization on top of your OS. So you need to assign the additional resources, file system, and the networking to the VirtualBox. But for Docker, you don't need to do it. It's a very lightweight. You can just spin up any container and it will start working on top of your OS. It will share the resources which is your OS is already using. Networking is also, you can configure it the way you want, and the file system also, you can share the things you already only require it. So that's how the Docker works. Then this for example, the containers are very lightweight and contain everything needed to run the applications. So even on your system, if PHP is not installed, you don't need to worry. If you only need to mention that in containers, I need to install the PHP, this extension, and you are good to go. You don't need to set up anything. And the good thing about the container is that when you can bind them in an image and you can share it with someone else. So for example, if you are working with your environment, what you can do is you can share with your teammates, and the Docker gives you guarantee that it will work exactly the same way it's working on your system. So in our developer ecosystem, there is a very famous meme called "It works on my machine," right? So Docker actually solves that problem, that if it's working on your machine, it will make sure that it will work everywhere else. And also the you can use Docker for many, not only for the local environment but for many things. For prod environment also you can use Docker containers. You can use it for the CI/CD pipeline to run your application in CI/CD pipelines. There are multiple use cases for Docker, and feel free to go to the Docker documentation and check for the use case you want to look at. And now we will look into the architecture of Docker. So as you can see, Docker is using a client server architecture. The As you can see, the client is basically a Docker CLI by which you can talk with the Docker daemon. The job of Docker daemon is to do all the heavy lifting to managing, building, and running your containers. Also, it will like have all the logic define how to manage and run the containers behind the scenes, how to pull the container from registries, all sort of things. The logic is already defined, and that is done by the Docker daemon. There can be multiple clients. So there is one client called Docker client. Then there is a Docker Compose also. Then there is a Docker desktop. So there is desktop app. You can download it and you can see it, how exactly it works with the Docker daemon. How it shows you how what are the containers running, what are the images running, how many volumes you have shared with the Docker, all sort of things you can see using Docker client. The way it works is the Docker daemon exposes the REST API, which you can call it from any way. You can call it from Docker client. You can call it your own program. You can write your own program, and you can call it that REST API from that program itself. So the good way is that the advantage of using it, exposing it using REST API is that let's suppose tomorrow your resources on your local machines are not very good, and uh, you need a good development environment machine, right? So what you can do is you can just simply go on a cloud. You can spin up a local server. You can run Docker there, and you can connect any client. So you can run your desktop client as well with that remote Docker environment. So remote Docker daemon. So that way you can develop in the server without doing a lot of complexity. So in earlier days, we used to do SSH and then sort of develop the things, but now you don't need to even do that. You can do it just by connecting your ID or connecting your CLI to that, and that will take care of a lot of things. Behind the scene, Docker actually uses a Linux concept called namespaces. If you don't know about it, you might, on a very high level, it's a thing called under, let's suppose my username on a Linux machine is Pushpak1300. So under Pushpak130, all the system will be created. So Docker create this namespaces for every single container and manage all these things behind the scenes. You don't need to do anything for that. And there is another tool which is like mostly used by the Laravel Sail also, which is called Docker Compose. So Docker Compose is a utility built on top of a Docker daemon only, which helps you work with a multiple Docker containers in the same way. So let's suppose if your application contains database, queue, a different type of queue, all sort of thing you can create run as a container, and then Docker Compose is a tool which you can use to manage all this in a very efficient way. So coming to the next point, I guess this is it for the Docker. Only thing I need to cover is what exactly the registry is. So consider registry as storing a Google Drive. For example, I already told you can share your containers or your containers as an image with your teammates, right? So what you can do is you can get the containers, you can build their images, and you can share them on the registry. So registry is example of a, for example, if you know GitHub is for the code, you can consider registry is for exactly same for the images. So you can store versioning of your images on the registry. And the good thing is you can also host your images on GitHub also for free of cost. So that's it about registry. And for understanding the images, just make sure images is like a is an environment where all the how to create containers, the all the steps has been written in it. So For example, if you need to create a Ubuntu container, there might be a case where you need to download the source code of Ubuntu, then build the Ubuntu system and all sort of things. So all this will be written in the Docker file, which we you don't want to know if you want to work with Laravel for now, Laravel Sail for now. So all this will be written in a Docker file, and you can just write and customize it as per you want. So you can do all sort of things, and you can build the images on top of it, and you can uh, share with your teammates using the help of registry. So I will be just showing you now how we can set up Laravel Sail in an existing Laravel application, and let's get amazed to see how exactly Laravel Sail works. So I will be sharing my screen. I hope everyone is able to see my screen. So what I will be doing, I have already forked a Laravel IO repository. So Laravel IO is a community portal created by the guy called Rise. He's also a Laravel core team member. So he's maintaining a kind of a community portal where you can discuss the things with Laravel community. It's kind of a thread and all sort of things. You can post your questions. You can get answer of the questions you have posted, and it's a Laravel open source Laravel application, so it's very good. It's maintained very frequently, and if you are looking for like get introduced into open source, you can look into this application, and you can start your open source journey with it. uh, so what I have done is I have just forked the Laravel IO repo. What I will be doing is we will be dockerizing it using Laravel Sail. So we will be just following the documentation, what has been mentioned in the documentation. We will be following step by step, and we will try to see how very easy to get started with the Laravel Sail. So if you are able to see my screen, I have already cloned the repo locally, and if you can see, I have already cloned the repo. So I will be opening the Laravel Sail documentation for now. So the first thing is that there is a introduction has been given around the Laravel Sail, which you can read it, and then there is a section called installing the Sail into existing application. So what we will be doing is, first of all, this is a very fresh installation. I have not even installed the Composer dependency as well. So what we will be doing, if you already have the Laravel application running on your local machine, you already have PHP and Composer installed, right? So what we need to do is Composer, which will download all the dependencies. And what we will need to do is install the Laravel Sail as a developer dependency. So the next step after installing the Laravel Sail is to run the PHP artisan sail install command. The what exactly
Can you zoom in a bit in the terminal?
is it fine?
More, more. Yeah, fine. Thanks.
Okay. So the next thing you can do is run this PHP artisan sail install command. The next thing it will ask you which exactly services you like to install. So for running Laravel IO, you need majorly two extra services. One is a database, and the other one is a mail server where you can test your uh, how the mailing works offline, right? So this two system you will require it. So I will be downloading MySQL for the database and Mailhawk for the mail server testing, and it's now uh, doing all sort of things like pulling the Mailhawk and MySQL, and building the Docker image. So it has been done. As you can see, it has changed the Docker compose.yaml. It has created a Docker compose.yaml file. Uh, get started with the Laravel shell, you don't need to understand exactly how this Docker compose.yaml works, but it's very important if you want to customize it. So if you want to add many container on top of it, if you want to use any other images, if you want to use any other databases, if you want to any other services, you need to understand how exactly this Docker Compose works. So Docker Compose gives you a way to manage these different containers with the help of YAML file. You can write the configuration for different containers in this YAML file, and once you do that, it will every time you run the containers, it will spin up the exactly the way you have mentioned in this file. So for example, currently we are using this three containers. One is a Laravel test, one is a MySQL, and one is a Mailhog, right? Laravel test is a container where our entire Laravel application is running. All sort of Laravel related things are running inside the Laravel test. MySQL is running our database, which is taking care of all sort of storing data and all sort of thing. And Mailhog is there to test your mailing system. So this is how it looks like. Then there is a thing called networks. So what exactly it makes? What exactly it's making sure that when I'm starting this, I need to bridge my entire this Docker Compose with the current operating system. So you don't need to understand how exactly it works. Just mention this as a part of thing. But once you need to customize it, you can go to documentation and see exactly how it needs to be changed. And same for the volumes also. What exactly I wanted to do is that I need to create a volume for MySQL. As you can see, there is a volume created for it. And I need to share this volume with the local driver. So every time I stop or restart my Docker container, I don't want to lose the data inside the database. So all the data will be copied into the local system as well, and always it will always get in sync with the Docker container as well as my local system. So as you can see, this is Sail MySQL. So all the entire volume will be stored. Entire volume will be shared with this var lib MySQL, which is like where entire data store has been done inside the MySQL server, right? So without doing much delay, what we need to do is the next step is run the vendor bin sail up, right? As if you run it vendor bin sail up, it will download all for the first time. It will download all sort of things. It will download build it. It will take some time to build, download all the dependency behind the scene, and then it will start. But once you are done it, the frequent run is very fast. Everything is cached. You don't need to do anything. And you can see there is a log also. Like for every system, there is a log. What you can see, uh, I guess you will be familiar with this one. So this is a Docker desktop application where you can see under Laravel IO, there are three containers running. One is MySQL one is a Mailhog one, and another one is a Laravel one. So if I click on Laravel one, you can see the logs inside that Laravel container. And I guess you are familiar with this one. Every time you run PHP Artisan, so this kind of log system gets started, right? So if I go to and it's running inside the 80 port. So if I go to localhost 80, see it's asking me to set the application key. I will just quickly do that. And the next thing is asking your connection has been reinforced. So now we need to understand how exactly networking between Docker works. So to understand that, as you can see now in our .env, we haven't mentioned database host and the database port we need to use. By default, it's using MySQL behind the scene, right? But we need to mention host once we start using Docker host, because by default, from one to talk from one container to another container, uh, there is no way. The Docker gives you a way by which you can talk with a different container. So, for example, if you need to talk from Laravel to MySQL, from from Laravel to MySQL database, what you need to use is that Docker will expose this MySQL as a IP address local on your local system, so that you can directly interact from a different container. So let me go. Let me add a db host MySQL. Okay, and if I run it, see now it has identified the database as well. But now I need to run the migration. So the next step is how to run the migration. Just go on the downside of the documentation, and you can see there is a section called executing the artisan command. So you can run this artisan commands by using this sail. But before that, you need to set up the alias for the sale. So every time you are running dot slash vendor dot bin slash sale dot up space up. Instead of that, what you can do is you can set the alias in your whatever bash or zsh whatever you are using. You can set alias there, and then you can instead of entire this you can just use sale. So currently I'm using the same thing. I have set up the alias. So sale is working perfectly fine for me right now. As you can see, the sale is already working. It's just a alias for vendor bin sale. Yeah, it's so every time I'm using sale, behind the same I'm running dot slash vendor slash bin dot slash sale. So let me run migration. So sale artisan migrate, and I also want to seed the database. So just passing minus minus seed. So it's running the migration, it's setting it inside the Docker. You don't need to run anything. You don't need any dependencies. It's running entire thing in the Docker only. And as you can see now, the database has been migrated. The next thing is white manifest is not found. So again, for this project, we need to compile the dependency using white. So the next thing is we need to do is run the node command. So there is also way mentioned in the documentation by which you can execute the node command. So we need to run the cell npm run dev, but before that we need to also install the dependencies. So I will be downloading cell npm ci to download the dependency. Yeah, and then the next step is cell npm run dev. So what exactly it will tell? It will ask cell to run this command npm run dev inside the Laravel container. Yeah, as you can see, the white has been started. Now let me just quickly refresh it. And the dependency has been also compiled for the front end. In the README file, they have mentioned that the test account is testing and the password also. So we can try the login also. We have run the seed command, so database has been already been seeded, and you can see our entire website is running inside the Docker, and you can see the log as well here. You can see all those requests are getting served from the Docker only. The next thing which I can show you is how to go inside. So let's suppose there is a requirement. If you need to go into the if you need to run any specific command into your Laravel application. So for example, sail tinker. Okay, so you can run that just by running sail tinker, and you will get the tinker application run as a part of in a Docker. It's just like you can run anything. Consider it as it's running inside a Docker, but you got the interface. So you can do all sort of things. You can run it, and even the PHP version is also 8.1.12, which for locally I don't have installed it right now at the moment. So it's running inside the Docker only. Let me, and if you need to use any specific command, it will also gives you this command called sail shell, by which you can get the shell of the Docker container. and you can run all sort of things. Now this is inside the Docker, which we are running all the some command. For example, if you need to run PHP here, PHP minus v, you can run all sort of things. You get entire access of the operating system running inside your operating system. So this is a Ubuntu application. So I can do all sort of things which I can do in Ubuntu. And currently I'm using Mac. So there is a virtualization, environment virtualization provided by the Docker also. And this way you can do all sort of things. You can make your production version as near to your development or sorry, as your development version as near to your production version, so you will be able to catch bugs faster. Next thing I can show you guys how to set up Xdebug. So by default, Laravel Sail contains Xdebug. Uh, so they have added Xdebug by default. Only thing you need to do is just go to the Xdebug section. Just copy this environment variable, paste that in an env file. So every time you change some env or you need to like build your Docker container again, because we have changed the environment container, and on based of that environment container, we need to run our entire container again. So what we need to run is like the command is called sail up minus d and minus minus build. So sorry, not minus d, minus minus build. So what exactly it will do? Every time it will restart all the containers, and whatever container has been changed, it will build them again. So if I run this, it will build the entire entire Laravel test container again, because that environment variable has been changed and I need to use the Xdebug for now, right? So it has been started. Let me go to PHP Storm and see if it's our Xdebug is working or not. So there is a zero configuration setup provided by out of the box from Laravel Sail for Xdebug. You just need to click start listening for PHP debug connection, and there might one configuration required because we are running it inside the Docker. So to source map the files with from the Docker to your local machine, you need to just mention how exactly your on which location your file has been inside the Docker environment. So if I run it, let me add a breakpoint somewhere. Sorry, I need to restart this again. You can also check the logs in the meantime. You can see the development in the Laravel server has started at port 80, and it's started accepting the connection as well. I'm not sure if the Xdebug has been started or not. I'm not sure why for some reason Xdebug is not working currently, but we can go for the next topic, which is like discussing how you can customize this and how exactly if you need to do some changes, how you can able to do that. Uh, Let me remove this and let me close this PHP from. So this Docker compose.yaml file has been created by the Laravel shell itself. So for example, if we need to change the app port where it exactly by default hosts the application, we can do that from this Docker compose file itself. There is a app port thing in the port. So what exactly it do is it map your ports inside the Docker port. So in the Docker, the Laravel application is running on a 80 port. So uh, which port from your local machine it wants to uh, couple with. So for example, you can couple with any port. You can couple it with 8000 port as well. Only thing is you just need to restart it. Sail up minus build, and that will build all again. And now if I open it, it's still running. Oh, sorry, I need to close the container first. Sail, uh, build, and now sail up. Still, let me just run that with 8000. Yeah, as you can see now, the 8000 port has been coupled with the Docker port of 80. So now, if you need to visit the application, you need to go to localhost 8000 instead of 80. Just let me check if it has been started. Yeah, it has been started now. Uh, yeah, as you can see, that's again that we need to start the compilation. Yeah, as you can see, the now it's hosted at a localhost 8000. So whatever port you need to configure, you can do it from the Docker compose.yaml file only. There are different configuration mentioned inside it, but if I go inside every configuration, it will be very big talk. So I just need to give you just hands-on experience how exactly this will work. To go into more detail, you can go to the Docker Compose documentation and see how exactly all these things work. Just to mention the next thing, how you can configure it. So if I go here and if I run Sail, these all are the commands which you can use using Sail. All these are they are mentioned in the documentation. You can go see how exactly it works. For example, we can run test as well. Just run Sail test and it will run the test. As you can see, it started running test also. It will take a lot of time because there is configuration you need to do. But just to understand, it will run. It's running the test inside the Docker environment without doing anything. So I will stop running that for now. The next thing is there is around sale. How to customize this? So it's already given by the Laravel team only. So if you need to customize, there is a way you can publish it. So there is a command called sale artisan sale publish, and you can see it will publish all the configuration file to your project. So all this file has been copied from the vendor file to your project, and it has been created a new folder called Docker container. So there you can see four different folder called 7.4, 8.0, 8.1, and these are nothing but just a PHP version. So if you want to switch to next PHP version 7.4, uh, the configuration for that 7 version is mentioned inside this 7.4 folder. Currently, we are using 8.1 as you can see. Uh, Currently, we are using slash docker 0.811. So currently it's checking the context of this Docker file for building anything. I already mentioned that to build the containers, you need to mention how exactly they need to be built. So there is a file which you can use. It's called a Docker file, and there is a syntax also. You can check a documentation. But let's suppose what exactly it's doing is from a base image. It always will be using from a base image. It's fetching Ubuntu 22.04 version, then adding sort of setting up the time zones and all sort of things, and then downloading the PHP PHP dependency with different types of extension. For example, you can see it's downloading PGSQL, SQLite3, GD extension. So if you don't want to install any other extension, you can just remove it from there. If your PHP application requires only MySQL extension and Redis extension, you can just keep them, and all the other things you can delete them. And all this is just like a downloading all the dependency on top of Ubuntu and creating a a fresh application sort of thing. You can customize the way you want. If you need to do any other sort of change, instead of npm you need to use another package manager, you can do that as well. You just need to remove it, and you can start using yarn also. Yeah, so once that is done, then entire context will be sitting here in your code file, and you can share this with your teammates. There is also PHP ini file for that PHP which is using by this Docker. So this is a PHP ini file. Uh, I also noticed that there are different projects which require different PHP ini settings. So every time you switch the project, you need to manually go to PHP ini, change the settings, and it's get very painful at the time. To change the PHP ini in Laravel Sail, just add the configuration here, what which you want to override, and that will override the configuration mentioned inside the PHP ini. So it's as simple as that. You so you started also like storing the configuration of your entire infrastructure in your code also. So the next developer you want to onboard, he just needs to run the sail up, and that will set up everything. So I have done these things. So let me quickly show how the next developer will be onboarded on the system. Let me quickly copy the things in a sample, and let me delete 7.4 version, 8.0 version, and 8.2 version because we are not using that for now. And this has been created by the PHP Storm. So these are the only 9 files we have changed. One is the env example because we need to add a DB host, and the username also has been changed. Then dependency, because we have added Laravel Sail. This is a Docker Compose file created by the Laravel Sail itself. PHPUnit. Currently, we are not using any. Just need to remove that. We haven't changed anything on that. The Docker file which we are using. But if you are using the Laravel Shell Docker default Docker file, you don't need to have this in your code also. Only you need to add it if you are customizing it. Then PHP ini. There is a start container script. So how the Laravel started behind the scene in your PHP in your container, it's mentioned this. It will run the supervisor command, and in the supervisor, it's exactly mentioned how to start the PHP on which host and which port. So it will keep that Laravel server running in the background for indefinite time. Even if that get crash, it will start it again. So the job is supervisor to mention to run the processes in the background without any issues. I will just create commit wait add Laravel Sail, and I will push it. So I will delete everything for now, and I will set up everything and will show you how exactly it will work. Let me push it. Yeah, so it has been pushed to the master branch only for my repository. As you can see, I added Laravel Sail, and now what I will be doing, I will be removing this project altogether. And now we don't even require PHP Composer installed on your machine. Only Docker is required.
Hey Pushpak,
Yes,
we have time restrictions, so you got only 3 minutes, I guess.
sure, sure. I will be done with that.
Yeah.
So this has been deleted. Let me. So consider me as a new developer who is going to onboard on this project. I will be just cloning this file, cloning this repository. The next thing I need to do is download the Composer dependency in order to Sail to work, right? So there is a way you can download the Composer dependency without having Composer installed on your machine. So for example, there is a section called installing Composer dependency for existing application. What you need to do is just copy this entire uh, command, which is like running the Docker container, running the downloading the dependency from the inside the Docker container, and then sharing with your code. Just quickly show that how it will work. Now consider I don't have anything installed locally for now, PHP and Composer. Only thing which I installed locally is Docker and Docker Desktop. So I will run this. Sorry, let me go to cd laravel.io and run this. So as you can see, all these dependencies are downloading installed, like first downloading inside the container and then sharing with the your project. Currently, I don't have anything installed as a composer or anything. And everything is happening inside the Docker. As you can see, there is one container, extra container has been started, and it's downloading all the Docker, all the composer dependencies, and then sharing this with your local file system. So once that is done, the only thing you need to do is copy the env.example and then run sail up. That will create an environment. It will download PHP for you, download MySQL for you, create a database, all sort of things. And that way you don't need to worry about the things for setting up for the first time. So yeah, that is how it will work. As a time constraint is there, I will stop my talk for now. And that's it. Uh, Thank you guys. Thanks for listening. I hope you learned something new today.
Yeah.
And let me know if guys have any other questions.
Yeah, I have added your Twitter handle in the comment section. If they want, they can reach out to you.
Yeah,
Thanks, Pushpak, for your time. It was a great session. Yeah, we got to in one. We covered enough in such short period. Thanks a lot.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll catch up offline. Yeah, thank
yeah,
you. Bye.
sure. Have a good day, all. Bye.
Bye.